So I guess we could consider this day 2 of the wall build. It's more like day 2 of cleaning, actually. What a disaster. Just a bunch of conglomerate of wires and foam from my previous wall build. Like globs of foam that came loose from vibration from when I had the floor in this thing that was 2 layers of plywood. Underneath the floor, it was filled with foam. And all that started coming loose and going underneath the carpet, just creating a disaster. So most of the work so far, being that this was a no wall and it had a seat and all the interior, and it was just pulling the interior off and exposing all this junk that was just kind of trapped underneath the interior and flopping around. And let me see if I could zoom in. That's the other disaster I have in the garage. That's my speaker box sitting on the side, and being that this no wall box was so large, I have it up for sale, but it's a little bit of a challenge trying to sell it because most people don't have the space for that type of a box. So I think I'm going to be stuck with it for a while, and I'm certainly not going to throw it out because that's just a waste. Hopefully I'll find somebody that will take that, you know. And on top of it, I have my seat and all the panels almost like stacked up to the roof. I mean, this is a pretty narrow garage to begin with, so I'm really like confining myself on room in there. But it's a struggle that I'm gonna settle to deal with, you know, to have more base. That's part of being a base head, is we all want the pressure, you know, but in order to get that pressure, you have to make a lot of compromise to your vehicle. So here I am, no interior anymore. So I was going through a lot of ideas in my head as to what I should do. With the no wall build, I had this wood roof up there. This used to be the floor from my wall. I just recycled the wood, and then I was going to put another panel over this rough, shitty looking plywood because it got all gouged and scratched because of being that it was the floor, sliding things around on it when I was building my other wall. So I was just going to put another panel over this to make it look better. And you know, this is going to wind up being the top layer to a wall. So it works out. You know, when this was a no wall, I was destroying the roof. There was huge cracks and everything that were forming on the corners and creating leaks and all sorts of a headache. So also I was dissipating a lot of the energy just by the roof flexing. So a lot of people were telling me, you know, do a wood roof, do a wood roof. Finally, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do a wood roof. But I didn't do it how a lot of people do, where they glue the wood to the sheet, like all the sheet metal on the top. I actually bolted this to all the beams on the side, all the beams on the top, and then I filled it with foam so that way I can have a square, straight piece. And it helped me in hindsight, because now that I'm doing a wall, now I have a straight panel that's already up there to work with. All I have to do is just sand it down, prep it. So this will come straight down. And so I was thinking initially to do a flat wall. Then a friend of mine, really good friend of mine, told me, he's like, you know, you should really be considering a 4th order. It's easier to build. You could put plexiglass in the back so you could see out of the back. And all that sounded great to me until I started doing some calculations. I realized the best I could do was a 2-to-1. And I'm not knocking any 2-to-1 4th orders, but I wanted to have a higher ratio on the top. You know, so being that I mean, I had 12,000 watts is a lot of power. That's about what I have to work with. But I really think a flat wall is better. I think a massive 415s flat wall that's tuned all the way in the dirt. Because now my goal is I just want to play really low and get windy. So that's where we're at right now. Because I'm pretty sure it's going to wind up being a flat wall. So here I am. I mean, I'm just trying to get everything prepped to get going, and then I'm going to start, once I clean all this shit out of my way, I'm going to start the floor. It's going to be 2 panels of wood. You know, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to deaden it first. Obviously, I want to make sure it's nice and deadened. And then I'm going to add the 2 layers of plywood. But, you know, yeah, what a mess. Well, stay tuned if you guys are interested in this kind of thing. It's going to be a whole, you know, whole stack of videos on this build. So stay tuned for part 2.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Can't you guys relate? I hope you guys can relate. Us base heads, we change our minds a lot. So it was going to be a flat wall, but it's going to be a 4th order. Roll the pictures. Here goes. This is where we're at now. It's a 2.5 to 1 ratio 4th order. She's getting there. Still have a long way to go. So today my plans are to finish the front panel and the port. And you have that front panel mounted on. I'm doing a lot of sanding work, getting it all prepped for a paint job as well while it's wide open, so it's easier. Got my baffle cut out, not my baffle, but my front panel rather. And then a 2x4 frame is going to go around that. So that should be a pretty good starting point for my port size, and I could always shrink it. Like right now I'm sitting at about 400 square inches of port area. With the 2x4 it's going to be closer to like 320-ish. not a fan of this type of plywood. Look at it the wrong way, the outer veneer comes off. I give that about an hour, and then I'm going to give it a light sand. Not really worried about the other pieces because those are all going to be covered up. That section there was just a little ridiculous. So it's getting there. I'm gonna have to go over it by hand in a few little sections. It's gonna be painted with the roller. So I'm not, overly concerned with any small irregularity. I'm just gonna do the best I can. And once I roller paint it, it should look pretty good.
Ah! The things I do for bass. Make it look pretty, they said. Get all the irregularities out of the box, they said. It'll look prettier when you paint it, they said. Yeah, why don't you do a build in the middle of June? Even better, why don't you do it next time in the middle of August when it's hot as hell outside? Sounds like a great idea. Don't book a resort in Hawaii or anything. Don't take a trip to the Keys. Get inside of a box in the middle of June and sand dust right in your face. The things I do for bass. My neighbors are looking at me. fun. It's fun.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
That went pretty smooth. Not so bad. Could have went a lot worse.
So just for size reference, I'm gonna make sure that I can put my speakers in and out of this box. Just did a little test fit there. Looks good. It's gonna be a pain in the butt mounting them, but struggle I'm willing to go through. So I didn't glue or screw these 2x4s in yet. You know, I want to do some trial and error testing and everything first to see where this thing's gonna tune. So we should be somewhere in the ballpark of the right port area to start. We may add roundovers and all that later, you know. So I'm more than likely going to wind up painting the inside of the box and leaving the outside until I find the tuning, and then finishing it all up, filling all the little gaps with wood filler, make it look nice and pretty. Then I also have to do the roof, because the roof has no wood on it. There's wood all the way to the back, 1.5 inches thick. Plus there's 2x4 frame underneath that, and then there's another 3/4 inch, which is the top layer of the enclosure. So this thing's plenty thick as far as from the front section of the enclosure to the back. But from here, I'm gonna add, I don't know how much thickness. We'll see what I can get away with without it making the vehicle too uncomfortable, leaving a decent amount of headroom. But I have a nice tongue to work with, so I could start from here and work my way forward. Possibly curve it over, since the roof has a shape down, so I might curve it down. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do that yet, but hope you guys enjoy that, especially the part where I was making a real fool out of myself. But you know what, this is a hobby and it's fun, so hope you guys enjoyed. Take care.